They say some train rides never end. For Abigail Moore, that train wasn't just a legend. It was the beginning of her descent into a nightmare she'd never wake up from. Abigail was a photographer, a thrill-seeker, with an obsession for the abandoned and the unexplained. So when she heard whispers about a ghost train that appeared only on moonless nights in the Colorado mountains, she couldn't resist. She packed her camera gear and set off for Silver Ridge, an old mining town now more ghost than town. What she didn't know was that this train didn't just carry passengers. It carried their secrets, their regrets, and their souls. It started like any of Abigail's adventures. The ghost town was desolate, with crumbling buildings and rusted signs creaking in the cold wind. She set up her camera, hoping to catch a glimpse of the rumored train. According to the locals, it appeared near the old station, a decaying platform hidden in the forest. Hours passed, and the temperature dropped. Midnight came and went. Just as she began to doubt the stories, she heard it. The distant, mournful whistle of a train. The sound froze her in place. Then came the rumble of wheels on tracks, growing louder. Out of the darkness, a train emerged, its body shimmering like it was half real, half shadow. Abigail barely had time to process what she was seeing before it stopped at the platform. The door slid open, revealing a conductor in an old-fashioned uniform. He tipped his hat and said, "All aboard." Abigail hesitated. Every instinct told her to run, but the pull of the unknown was stronger. She stepped onto the train, her boots echoing on the wooden floorboards. The door closed behind her, sealing her fate. Inside, the train was unlike anything Abigail had ever seen. It was as if time itself had unraveled. The carriages were a patchwork of eras. Velvet seats from the Victorian age, cracked leather benches from the 1940s, and fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like a relic from the 70s. The air smelled of old wood and something metallic, like blood. The passengers were equally strange. Some wore clothing that looked centuries old, others dressed as if they'd stepped out of the 1980s. But it wasn't their attire that unsettled Abigail. It was their silence. No one spoke. No one moved. They all stared ahead with glassy eyes, as if they weren't fully there. Abigail took a seat near the back, clutching her camera like a lifeline. She tried to snap a picture of the passengers, but her camera wouldn't work. No matter what she did, it wouldn't capture their images. The train jerked forward and Abigail's stomach flipped. She looked out the window, expecting to see the dark forest. Instead, she saw a mining camp bathed in the eerie glow of lanterns. Men with soot-streaked faces trudged to and from the mines, their eyes hollow. It wasn't a scene from the present. It was a slice of the past, playing out in real time. The train stopped, and a man boarded. His clothes were filthy and his face was pale as death. He took a seat without looking at anyone. Abigail's chest tightened. Something about him felt wrong. When the train started again, the scenery outside changed. Now it was a bustling 1920s town, with flapper girls laughing on the sidewalks and Model T cars rumbling down cobblestone streets. But the people outside didn't see the train. It was like it didn't exist in their world. At each stop, more passengers boarded. A woman in a blood-stained wedding dress. A soldier with a shattered helmet. A little boy clutching a stuffed bear. Abigail realized they weren't just passengers. They were souls, trapped between life and death. And the train was their purgatory. Panic set in. Abigail tried to get up, but the conductor appeared out of nowhere, blocking her path. His eyes were dark pits, his voice like the scrape of metal on stone. "You're not ready to leave," he said. "I don't belong here," Abigail stammered. "I'm alive." The conductor's smile was cold. "Are you sure?" Abigail's mind raced. She remembered the stories, the warnings. The train only took those who were lost. Lost in life, in death, or in between. She had always been chasing something. The perfect photo, the next thrill, a reason to feel alive. But now, faced with the truth, she realized she had been running from her own emptiness. The train's final stop was the most haunting. The windows fogged over, and a chill seeped into the carriage. Outside, Abigail saw herself, her own body, lying crumpled at the base of a cliff. Her camera was shattered, her face pale and lifeless. She had slipped while trying to get the perfect shot of the ghost town. She wasn't alive. She hadn't been since she'd stepped onto the train. The passengers turned to look at her for the first time. Their eyes glowed faintly, filled with sorrow and understanding. The conductor spoke again. "The choice is yours. Stay or move on." Abigail's mind screamed for her to wake up, to fight back, to deny the truth. But deep down, she knew. She was one of them now. As the train pulled away from its final stop, Abigail sat quietly in her seat, staring out the window at the life she had left behind. The other passengers nodded to her, a silent welcome to their endless journey. The train rolled on, disappearing into the fog, its whistle echoing through the mountains. And somewhere in the Colorado wilderness, on moonless nights, the ghost train still rides, a haunting reminder of the stories we leave unfinished and the truths we're too afraid to face. Subscribe for more stories that will keep you awake long after the lights go out.